Good evening, everyone, to the live webinar on tips for building a resume. I am ACCA Disha Chauhan, a proud FinTrammer. Just an introduction. So, I have worked previously in some of the big fours. I'm also a BCom honors graduate and, of course, an ACCA member. And now, presently, I'm with FinTram Global, wherein I'm teaching a few subjects of ACCA. Dhananjay says I'm not audible. Am I audible, guys? Can everyone hear me? Yuvraj says, yep. Dhananjay, could you check because everyone else is saying they can hear me? Maybe there's some issue at your end. All right. So as I was saying, I'm also, presently with FinTram Global, wherein I teach some of the subjects of ACC and also mentor and guide students around the world with regards to ACC and other things. So today's webinar is, of course, on, how to build a resume. Now, before we start off, and really, of course, I'm going to be sharing some tips, the do's, the don'ts, all of that. But I want to just hear it from you guys that what do you think is a very, important part of your resume? Or what is that one thing that you really give priority when you're making a resume? Anyone, you could either unmute yourself or you could, put it in the chat box. So what is that one thing that you really give priority when you're making a resume? What is that one thing that you really focus on, or you think that this section or this part is very important? So you could either unmute yourself or, feel free to put it in the chat box. Anyone? Rohan, Chandresh, Yuvraj, Diljit, Ishwarya. I hope I'm pronouncing everyone's name right. Dhananjay, Naveen, Raj, anyone. So you could just either unmute yourself or just type it in the chat box that what is something that you feel is very important, or that's something that you give priority when you are making your resume. Okay, so Yuvraj says, ma'am, I think my specialization. Okay, great. Anything else? Anyone else? What is that one thing that you give priority when you're making a resume, or what is that one section or one thing that you think is very important in a resume that you really focus on? Anything, guys. There's no right or wrong answers here. You could just put anything in the chat box which you feel. All right, so you can keep on putting in and I will continue. So let's start off with some tips for writing a resume. So here basically I'll be talking about the various sections and how it should be. So the first thing is, of course, you should optimize your name or contact section. There are many people, and I have seen so many resumes in, as when I was working, and even now I get many resumes when we are hiring. There are people who would put in a lot of unnecessary information, right? Like things like, I would say they would put something like, full on address, like from their house number to street number to pin code. Now employers don't really need your per se full address. I mean, your email ID these days, everything is done over an email, right? You don't have to put your home address in the resume, of course. So that is one thing. So when we say optimizing the name and contact section, so what exactly should be coming in? Your full name, of course, your email ID, your professional email ID that you will, be contacting people on, and your LinkedIn profile. Now, it is very important that you also hyperlink these things so that, if someone has to write you back, they can just click on that email that what you have written. It's a hyperlink, so it will automatically open the email. Or if it's a LinkedIn page, they click on that and they can easily open it, because nobody has the time to then see that this person's name is this. They'll go on LinkedIn and then search. No, you have to hyperlink it. And LinkedIn profile is very important part. These days, if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, then it's going to be a big, for the company, it could be a big no-no, because each and every company these days, will post on LinkedIn their job. And even if you're not applying from LinkedIn, you could be applying from naukri.com, but you need to have a LinkedIn profile. And of course, Make sure you are, you have put on all the details in your LinkedIn profile from your work experience, your education, whatever of course the necessary things are. But the thing is that it's very important that you are hyperlinking it, because if I am, let's say, if somebody forwards me a resume, I'm a manager, the HR forwards me, and if I got the resume on my mobile, now I'm not gonna go search your LinkedIn profile, so it needs to be hyperlinked. Any personal portfolio website that you might have, also again you would need to hyperlink. Now these would be more of in creative fields, you would probably have a portfolio or anything like that, but in general, if you have something like that, basically you need to hyperlink all of these things. And like I said, optimizing your name and contact section. Don't put in your home address, your pin code, your different sorts of telephone numbers. Your mobile number, your email address, and your name is more than enough. And of course, your LinkedIn profiles link. All right, then ordering of your work experience. Now here many people again do a mistake. So you should always be highlighting the most relevant experience up top first. Yes. But that being said, I don't mean that you need to list every job you have ever done. For example, and now this would probably happen, I would say, because in India also now we have summer internships and all of that. But mostly if you are from a foreign country wherein you have, let's say, done an odd job, let's say you have waited tables, or you have worked at McDonald's as a part-time to earn some extra cash. Now this is very common in foreign countries, right? Now, but if you're applying for, let's say, an marketing role, or let's say an accounting role, you really don't need to put that on your resume, right? Because that's not really linked, that experience that you've gained, that's not really linked to the job that you're applying. So you need to highlight the most relevant experience up top first, definitely. But any job experience that is not that important, or that really does not need to be highlighted, that you don't need to include it. So you should focus on highlighting your accomplishments with quantifiable metrics. There are so many people who do this, that in their work experience, when they are mentioning, okay, from they worked in, let's say, XYZ company this date to this date, and then they will just list down what all they were responsible for. They'll say, let's say, responsible for a team of 10 people, responsible for preparation of something, responsible for doing this XYZ task. But you are just telling that you were responsible for all this thing. How does the employer know that you have actually accomplished something there? So you need to highlight your accomplishments. You need to tell that, okay, I did this XYZ thing. Let's say you are in audit, so you can tell, I did the audit of, now you don't even have to mention the client's name. So I did the audit of, let's say, a pharmaceutical company, and I found out these things, and I suggested the client XYZ thing, and it helped them saving, let's say, this many dollar amount. So you need to tell your accomplishment, that what have you done well. They are not interested in your responsibilities. They want to know what you did well, what you accomplished there. And of course, if you can quantify it, then that's like cherry on cake. You need to quantify it, your dollar or rupee, whatever. You need to quantify that, okay, this is what you did, this is how it impacted, this is how much the company saved in whatever field, whichever field you are in, and this is the amount. So you need to basically show the impact that you have had in the workplace. Now that's very important. Like, what is the impact that you have had in the workplace is something, of course, that is very important, right? Because if you're just telling, I did just this, then how can employer really say that, okay, that's great that you did this? You need to tell them that, okay, I did this, and I managed so many people, and I accomplished this in that time frame. Whatever it is, whatever you have accomplished, you need to highlight that, and not just your role, or just you can't just say that, okay, I just did this and done, or this was my duty and done. No, you need to sort of highlight it. You need to tell what you accomplished there, and how exactly you sort of, I would say, in a way, had a great positive impact in the workplace. All right, moving on to the third point. One second. Yeah. So how to properly write your job description. So basically, you should, of course, like I said, highlight your achievements. No doubt in that, right? It is important that you are highlighting the achievements. But at the same time, like I said, when you're writing a job description, it is important that you're keeping few things in mind, right? Now, when you are applying for a job, right? Firstly, this is something that I always tell people, that what happens is, uh, when you make a resume and you just circulate it everywhere, like you would send it to all the companies that you're applying. No, that is not how you should be doing. What exactly you should be doing in your job description is something that we will be talking in a moment also. But for now, how to properly write a job description, like I said, you need to highlight your achievements rather than duty. So when you're writing your work experience, in that only you are going to put the job description, like the job that you did in those workplaces. So you have to highlight what you accomplished, what were your achievements, rather than just stating out your duties, because that's not gonna really be helping anyone. Because this was your duty, okay, fine. How is that going to help them? All right, then moving on to the fourth point, where to put your education section. Another important thing that some people are confused, where should I exactly put my uh, education section? So the thing is, if you, let's say, of already established in your field, you have, let's say, work experience of more than 2 years, you may have experience of, let's say, 4 years or so, then of course, experience will be greater than education. That is, your experience should come first, and then you should go ahead and, focus on your education part, that, okay, this is what I'm going to put in my education. However, if you are a recent graduate, you need to move your education up top, because you might not much experience, maybe just an internship of 2 months or something like that. So in that case, what you have to do is, of course, you will put your education first. But if already you are established in your field, you have experience of few years, then definitely your work experience is going to come first, and then you're going to state your education. Now, in education also, of course, you are not going to list down everything, that, okay, in 10th class, I got this much, 12th class. Like if you are recently graduated, then you can, of course, put, then also I would suggest from putting from maybe 12th class, and then your, of course, college, whatever you did. But if you are, of course, established in your field, then definitely don't even need to put 12th class. You can straight away put your college. And if again you have any let's say, professional or any other certification, any professional course you would have done, ACCA, CPA, whatever. Then the skill section. Now, this is, of course, very useful if you have any specific certification or any specific skills. What does this mean? Let's say you are very good at Power BI. It's a tool, right? Tech people use it. Or you're very good at SAP or ERP systems, and you have certifications. You online study these, you give exams, and you have then get certifications. Then, of course, in the skill section, definitely put these things. I see many people putting in the skill section Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is so basic. It is expected by the company that you know Microsoft Office these days for almost, I would say, all the jobs, unless, of course, it's, some sort of a job where you have no use of the computer. But other than that, if it's any sort of a job in any field, you need to know Microsoft Office. So that is not a very great thing to be boasting about, that, oh, I know Word and I know Excel. That's like basic. Of course, if you have done, let's say, advanced Excel, which is an advanced level of your normal Excel, wherein there's a lot of things that has been taught and you have a certification for that, then of course you could put. But other than that, just basic Microsoft Office is not a very great skill to boast about. Then your extracurricular and awards. Now, these basically convey any other traits that recruiters could be looking for. So if you have any extracurriculars, or if you have won any awards, definitely you could put that. For example, when I was working in Big Fours, I worked in two Big Fours. So in both the Big Fours, Big Fours have this culture, and many companies have this culture wherein there are many award systems, like they give employee of the month, or best performer, or a kudos award, all these sorts of things. Now, if you have one something like that in your similar organization, then definitely put that up. I had one, so I used to list that out, definitely. But let's say if you're a fresh graduate, then you will have not won any awards in your, you have no experience so there. But of course, in your college, if you have won any awards, maybe you are very good at public speaking, you have participated in various debates, or maybe you are very good at sports, you could list that out also. So any extracurricular awards that are worth highlighting, definitely put that up. And please note, extracurriculars is different from hobbies. Do not put in your hobbies that, oh, I love painting or I love music. No, any extracurricular activity. Maybe you have in your colleges, there are fests, right? You have you are involved in the committee who organizes fest and all that. So these things you could put. And if you have won any awards in your maybe high school or let's say college as a fresh graduate, regards to anything, whether it's sports or extracurricular any award, then definitely you could list them out. All right, then moving on to what not to include. Yes, these things I feel are absolutely irrelevant and they have no place whatsoever in your resume. Firstly, your age. The employer does not really need to know your age, in the sense some people put age and their age, or they put their entire date of birth with the year. So you don't need to put your date of birth, you don't need to put your age as such, right? When you even apply internationally, I see they say that, as such, as a rule, you are not even supposed to put your nationality, because it could be a basis for discrimination. So all these things usually people don't put, that's why. So your age, definitely do not put. References, many people put references. References is something that if the company which is hiring, and if they come to a stage when they are pretty sure about you, they will of course contact maybe your past employees or something like that. So in that case, they themselves will ask that, okay, please give some references, and in that case you have to give. So for references, I always suggest keep it in a separate document. In a Word document, you list all your references, give their email IDs and phone numbers, and also always tell your references that, hey, I have give you are one of my reference, so that it doesn't come out as a surprise to them. But don't put them on your resume. Resume needs to be short, crisp, and direct. Ideally, it should not be of more than one page. Yes, your resume should not be of more than one page. And as a fresh graduate, when you any which ways don't have many things to put, you think that, oh, I'll just put few things so that it looks full. No, you don't have to put your references in your resume. What not to include? Lies. Definitely do not lie on your resume. You will get caught in the future. Maybe even if you get the job, you might get caught in the future if you lie. Let's say on your resume that, let's say you are very good in SAP. Maybe the job description said that you need to know SAP, and you said that, okay, I know SAP. You have mentioned that. Now what would happen is, maybe you have got the job also, but 1 month down the line your manager says that, hey Disha, you need to do this, and you are since well versed in SAP, I am sure you will be able to do this. Then what are you gonna do? You don't know SAP. So never lie on your resume. People think that, oh, I'll just lie about this small thing, they will never know. Don't do that. Do not lie on your resume. It's as simple as that. Then another thing that you definitely should not include is, of course, your salary expectations. This is a discussion that would probably happen in the interview. The interviewer might ask that, okay, what is your expectation or something like that. And in case of fresh graduates, they don't even ask that. This is not something that you put on your resume. Definitely, salary expectations should never come on your resume. I have seen some resumes wherein experienced people have put like, oh, I have experience of this many years, expecting 15% hike as per industry standards. Definitely gonna get rejected. Never put salary expectations on your resume. You do not have to put your marital status on your resume. They don't care. They don't. I mean, your working workplace, why would the employer be interested or needs to know whether you are married, single, divorcee? So marital status should not be there. Anything vague or irrelevant which has no place or which has no sort of a connection with the job that you're applying for, definitely does not need to be in your resume. So anything vague or irrelevant, just do not put on your resume. Hobby section. This is something which is usually seen in fresh graduates because they don't have many things to put in the resume. So they'll include a hobby section that my hobbies are music, painting, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a professional document that you are making. You can, of course, put your extracurriculars or awards, like I said, But hobby section is definitely not something that you should be putting in your resume. Definitely no, no. Then do's for resume writing. What you should be doing? So the first one is customizing according to the role. As I had said that, in the job description, how you should be doing it. Now, this is where it comes to picture. Now, what happens? You see many job posting, maybe on Naukri.com, LinkedIn. You have a resume and all you do is you just click send, 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 send. You are sending your resume left, right, center, everywhere. That same resume. The chances are that you are not going to get selected. Why? These days, most of the big companies, if there's mass hiring especially, use a software called ATS. You could even Google about it. So many big companies and even normal size companies these days, when they are mass hiring, they use a software called ATS. Now, what is this software? Basically, what happens whenever the resume comes, the HR would just put the resumes in that software. What does the software there? It automatically is going to scan the resume for certain keywords. So the HR would put in, let's say, the job is for an accountant, and there are some basic things that they want that in that job. They have put those things in the job description also, like preparation of financial statements, something like that, and other things. Now the HR has these keywords. They are going to insert these keywords in the software, and that software will automatically just scan your resume. If those keywords are not there in your resume, like out of 10, maybe you have 8 keywords. So that's great. Maybe you have 7. Okay. Maybe you have 4. Not so great. 5. Not so great. 2, 1, 0. Then the HR is going to be like, okay, this resume is definitely going to be rejected. So if you do not customize your resume according to the role, the software is only going to reject your resume. It is not even going to go or reach to a real person. So many companies use this software. Now, what you could do so that it doesn't get rejected? You need to read the job description. If you're just applying with the same resume everywhere, then let me tell you, today's world, in today's reality is, you will not probably get shortlisted, because these companies are using this software, because they get so many resumes, and nowadays technology is everywhere, AI is everywhere. So of course they use these softwares. So what you need to do, every company would have posted a job description. You need to read that job description carefully. You need to see what are the points. If it says you need to be proficient, or you need to know how to prepare financial statements, make sure you, and of course, if you know how to prepare financial statements, you put that in your resume, that I am aware, or I know how to prepare financial statements, so that that keyword matches. If there are some other things, some other requirements that the person needs to know XYZ tool, let's say you know that tool, so make sure you put that in your resume. So whatever the job description is, you need to read that. If you think that yes, I know these things, then only firstly you should apply for the job. If let's say the job description has 10 points and you think you are only eligible or you meet only 2 criteria, then my friend, I don't really think you should even apply for the job. You don't even need the job description, right? So if you read the job description and out of 10 you think like, oh, 7 things I can do and I have the knowledge of and this and that, then use those 7 things, read those lines, see the keywords and put that in your resume. Then go to the next company, read its job description, and again change your resume. I know it's a cumbersome process, and earlier it used to be easy. We used to have one resume and send it everywhere. But nowadays, because of these tools, you have to do a little bit of hard work. But again, you also have some benefits, right? These days, there are so many websites which are available, and you can, easily create your resume. There are some websites like Zety, ZETY, or Resume Genius, Resume Lab. Basically, you could just put in a Google top websites to use for building a resume. You'll get some recommendations. Open few websites, see. Most of them will have many templates which are free. You don't have to pay. So sign up, just put your email ID, sign up, get a free template and get started, right? And once you have that template ready, save it. Then you see a job. Then you read the job description. Then you change it accordingly, send it. Then you'll read another job. You change the job. So most of the part will remain same. It's only the, job description thing or your skills thing, which you'll have to, let's say, change a little bit depending on the JD that the company has posted. Then the second one is make your resume action oriented. So you need to make sure your resume is action oriented, which means that don't just list out what were your duties, list out how you achieved something. Then, like I said, most relevant or recent experience should come first. However, if you are a graduate and you don't have much experience as such, you will of course put education first. Like I said, keep your resume short and direct. Very, very important. Ideally, it should not go one more than one page, because when people are viewing it on the computers or phone, nobody wants to scroll these days. That's the reality. So keep it short and direct. Make sure your resume looks neat and appealing. Don't put unnecessary colors. I have seen resumes wherein they are putting so many colors: orange, yellow, blue. I mean, why do you need to put so many colors? It's a professional document. Maximum, I would say, two color scheme is enough. That, okay, you're using black for headings and blue for internal, or vice versa, something like that. And that too sober colors like black or dark blue. Backgrounds, people putting so many colors, making it bright. This is not how a resume needs to be. It needs to be as plain as possible, as neat as possible, and of course it needs to be appealing by the way you have designed it. And like I said, there are so many websites these days where you can get great templates, and it makes your job very easier. You definitely should not have a plain document on your Word that you have just created a resume. Visit few of the websites, go to Google, visit few websites, download a template, and make your resume in that. Have a career summary rather than career objective. It's always better to have a short career summary, that okay, this is of course if you have had work experience. Otherwise you could just skip, or you could just put a career objective. But if you have had work experience, then put a short career summary, that okay, I was a manager here, this were my these many people I managed, I was the head of this region, blah blah blah, something like that, rather than your career objective. All right, then moving on to the mistakes that you should definitely avoid. First is listing your job duties instead of accomplishments. Again, I'm putting this point because it is very important. People would just list out the duties, that this was my work, this is what I did, responsible for this, that's all. How you accomplish something, results, all of that is something that you need to include. Then grammatical errors and spelling mistakes. These days, you can't, you have internet, you have your Grammarly, so many tools, that you should really be not doing a spelling mistake. I have seen resumes where there are spelling mistakes, and that is a big no-no. I would see that and I would be like, I really don't want to, go through and, give this candidate a chance. That's the reason, is because if you can't even proofread your resume, then how can I trust you with any piece of work in the job, right? Proofreading your resume is the basic thing. You have a resume, you need to make sure that there are no spelling mistakes, there are no grammatical errors, right? And this is not a very difficult thing to do. So definitely never have any grammatical errors or spelling mistakes. Spelling mistakes is a big no. Then, like I said, another mistake to avoid is definitely that you are using the same resume for all positions. Don't do that. Read the job description. See what are the keywords, what you actually can do, and then those keywords incorporate in your resume as well. This is very, very, very important if you want to get your, sort of foot in ahead. Then including your full mailing address. Like I said, some people will put the entire address, like from their home address, address, and I don't know what not. So all you need to put, like I said, your name, full name, your phone number, email address, and of course your LinkedIn profile, but not a full mailing address. Then using the wrong font or layout, what happens is you would create a resume and you're not following one font. You can't be using different fonts. You need to use one font for your full resume, and make sure that font looks professional. Then your layout also needs to be good. Some people would put in too many boxes or do few things. There are few resume templates you will see on the internet also, wherein there is side column, that skills, and then there is star. So like you would put a skill like communication, and there are stars, so you'll give 4 star out of 5, or problem solver 4 out of 5, you will yourself give. So now don't use all that stars and all that, because immediately I will see a resume and I'm going to be like, oh, problem solver out of 5, this person is telling themselves that okay, 4. Then I'm going to be like, so if I give them 5 problems, they will be only able to solve 4. So, that negative thing comes on mind. So don't put the star that, okay, how much I can do it, all of that. So do not use all of that. Be consistent with your formatting. Avoid using any, sort of fancy or decorative elements that could distract people from your content of your resume. Don't put too many colors and all of that. Another thing is, some people put very basic things like that I'm a hard worker, that I'm punctual. These things are not supposed to be put on your resume. I mean, that is like implied that, okay, if you're applying for a job, you should be a hard worker, you should be punctual. Do not put these unnecessary things on your resume. An unprofessional email address. You probably in your school days, you made some email address, let's say XYZ person, whatever your name is, underscore cool guy at yahoo.com or at gmail.com. Now, this is not a professional email address, right? So make sure you have a professional email address. If you don't have email, just sign up to Gmail, make a new account. It is free of cost, and make sure you have a professional email address. Put in your name if it's taken, put in few numbers, underscore, whatever, try a few combination, but definitely don't have any unprofessional email address which has a cool guy or something like this. So definitely this should not be there. Then how to make your resume basically stand out, like highlight the keywords. Now, whatever are the keywords, not only of that job description that you put in and you put in your resume, other than that also, if there are some keywords which you really want to highlight, that, okay, you did this, or you are very good at auditing or XYZ thing. So highlight this, in the sense, do make it bold. So resume, you will all have like everything, maybe your heading is bold, few things are bold, all the headings are bold, and the content, whatever are the keywords, whatever are the important things that you want to make sure to highlight the employer, that, okay, I am good at this, or I know SAP, or I know XYZ thing, or I have worked on this client and I have, let's say, solved many of their problems, and in that way I help them to reduce cost or something like that, or great at digital marketing, have run a campaign of this much, and that was the impact created. So highlight those words, in the sense, bold. Make sure you're bolding, you do a bold, and those words get, of course, then highlighted. Quantify where possible. Again, if you have worked and if you have done some work wherein you saved something in terms of money, I'm saying, of the client or of your company, or something you did, or maybe you did a very big seminar of, or a social media campaign where thousands or lakhs of people were impacted. So quantify, put numbers wherever you could. Use bullets, not paragraphs. Do not write in paragraphs. It looks very bad. Nobody wants to read it. Use short, concise points. Use bullet points, so that whenever somebody sees it, it looks appealing and they want to read it then further. Include your accomplishments. Like I said, these 7 points that I am, that I put out here, make sure you definitely, incorporate them if you want your resume to stand out. You need to include your accomplishments, what you did, how you did, and not just what was my work, what was my duty. No, how you did something that impacted your work in the workplace, what positive impact you created. Include your LinkedIn profile. Like I said, it is important to have a LinkedIn profile, and you need to hyperlink it. Then the right length. Your resume should be of a right length. People have resumes of 2 to 3 pages long. It is too long. Even if you have worked in many organizations, there is a way that you could summarize it, and depending on the job you're applying, just pick out whatever is important and just include those. So it needs to be maximum, I would say few people go about 2 pages, but that is if you have, let's say, vast years of experience, 20 years or something like that, or 15 years. Other than that, you could do it in a 1 page. So I would always say best length is always 1 page. Then remove common and overused terms. These are terms which people will throw in left, right, and center, and these are very common. Every HR has read it, everyone uses it. So don't include these terms like, I'm very results oriented, or I have a proven track record, or I am very hardworking, or I'm problem solver, etc. because they would just come out as empty industry buzzwords. You need to show how you were result oriented. If you're saying you're result oriented, then make sure you're putting that I did XYZ thing. Or if you're saying that I'm a problem solver, then tell this was the client. Don't name the client, but okay, there was a client, this was the problem, this is how I solved it, this is much I saved. So if you're not telling it, just don't put unnecessarily in soft skills that okay, these are the things that I can do. I'm a problem solver, I'm a hard worker. No, then these words mean nothing unless you can show how. Do not include these words. And hard worker and all of that, to definitely don't put punctual. A big no, I would say. So these words you should definitely not put. All right. So before I go on to the next slide, which is my Q&A, I'll just put in the Q&A. So basically, you have any doubts, questions, you can put it in the chat box and I will be happy to answer. Few points like I would again want to highlight. Please make sure when you have made your resume, firstly visit these websites that I said, right? Either go to Zety, ZETY, or Resume Genius, and there are many. Just Google, put in on Google that websites to create resume. You will get many templates. Choose a sober template, make a resume. Once you're done with that, then whenever you're applying for a job, please read the job description, tailor it according to that, use those keywords, because like I said, companies use ATS software these days. Your resume will get rejected. If you want, there's maybe you have just created your resume as per the basic format you have created. You have put whatever you knew, and of course you would tailor it then as per the job description. But the first resume that you have created, just the basic one, you know FinTram Global is giving this help to the students, that you could mail us your resume at the email ID support@fintram.com, support@fintram.com. I'm going to put it in the chat box also. So you could mail your resumes on this email ID. Please keep the subject of the email as resume webinar, so that we know you came from this webinar. And so what we are going to do is, you mail your resumes once you have incorporated all that I told today, right? And then we will review your resume. So I would personally review the resume. I will then give you any more insights if there is something wrong, something else you could improve. And then of course, like I said, once you're done with this basic resume, then you will have to keep on changing it every time once you apply for a job. Only that the job description or your skills, work expert, depending on the job description, but the basic will remain same. So once you incorporate all the tips that I shared today, once you make changes, once you use all the templates, then what you need to do is just email us your resume. It will be always better to It's always better to send a PDF document. Even when you're applying, you should not send Word documents ideally. So you can use any of these websites, go take a template, you can save there, then you could download that file. It will be a PDF file, and then you could just email that to us. So if there are any questions, please put it in the chat box. And until that time, I'll also put in the final slide, wherein you can definitely visit our website if you are pursuing ACCA or US CPA, US CMA, DIP IFRS, or you want to pursue any of these courses. We are, of course, experts at teaching these courses at a very affordable price. Definitely follow FinTram on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, because these sort of webinars, I just had a webinar last week wherein we did on interview skills, which was very important, right? After resumes, you would, if you get selected, you will have to face an interview. So for all that information, you need to follow us, and that the snippets of that webinar is there on YouTube. So make sure you go on our YouTube channel, see that webinar also if you have not seen already. It was on interview skills, again very helpful. And in the future also we are coming up with various webinars, so make sure you're following us on these social media platforms, so that that okay, you have to be there, or this is the day the webinar will be. You can register on time, and there are so many other important informations and important videos that we make. So definitely follow us there. So I'm going to open the chat box and see if there are any questions that have come. All right. So Yeah, Yuvraj had said, and no, that was Dhananjay. Okay, Dhananjay, academic achievement skills, that is Tally, Excel, I think this was the first question that I asked. Okay, then Shreya had asked, do connections have impact on recruiters? So if you are a fresh graduate, obviously you might not have many connections, and that's absolutely fine, but you should have a LinkedIn profile, and you know, you should try to send requests to your college mates, your professors, then people from the company that you aspire to be in. If you know anybody, it's no harm in sending connections. People sometimes will accept it. So I'm not going to say that, oh, if you have less connections, the recruiter will be like, oh, we are not going to hire her. So connections don't have impact in that way, but have a good LinkedIn profile. If you have worked somewhere, or if you have, let's say, not even worked, if you were in college, LinkedIn has a section of recommendation wherein either you could recommend, give a comment, or someone. So it's given and or received. So in that, if you have worked somewhere, what happens is, managers, you would have worked with the manager, they like you. Just tell them that, hey, could you in my LinkedIn just give me a comment? What used to happen, I learned this from one of my peers when I was working in one of the big four. I used to get good feedbacks, and there was one of my seniors, she used to get really good feedbacks. Now, whenever she used to get a feedback, what she used to do, her manager would praise that, oh, you have done well. She would immediately ping that manager, message that manager, and say that, thank you so much for the wonderful feedback. Could you also put this on my LinkedIn profile? So they would not mind it. They'll just copy paste it and send it. So it, on your LinkedIn profile, it was gonna come as a recommendation given by this person. So it's gonna have a very positive impact. So if you have these connections in your workplace, or even not your workplace, if you are in college and if you have good rapport with your professors, teachers, tell them that, please give me a recommendation, please write something about me, that okay, I'm good at this. So that will only help you to build your profile. But as such, connections will not matter, but your overall LinkedIn profile, it would be great if you have all these things incorporated. All right, what file format I used to send my electronic resume? Like I said, PDF will be fine. You could use any of that tools, like I said, and when you download there, usually you would get a PDF file. So you can send in your basic resume, and I'll just type in the email ID so that everybody knows. It is support@fintram.com. And in the subject, please put resume webinar, so we know you're coming from here. And then in few days, we would reply to you that, okay, your resume, this is good, this could be improved. And then whenever you start applying to the job, definitely tailor it. As I said, that is very important. Most of the companies use ATS these days. It will get rejected if you do not have those keywords. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. How to design Gmail address. When you go to Gmail and you say there is login or a new user, so you put new user, then they will take your basic details and ask you to give a email ID, right? What email ID you want. So whatever your name is, let's say Dhananjay, your whatever your surname is, you, let's say it's Singh, for example, I'm saying. So Dhananjay Singh, you put that at the rate gmail.com. Then let's say it doesn't work. If it says this email ID is taken, then you try few combinations like Dhananjay123 or Dhananjay underscore Singh or Dhananjay underscore something. So you have to try few combinations so that you get a Gmail ID. Ma'am, you have to send it to all. It's directly message to me, the email address. Okay, this email address I send just to Raj. Let me send it to all. Copy to everyone in meeting. So this is the email ID, guys. support@fintram.com. And on the subject, just write resume webinar and send in your resumes after you have incorporated all the things that I mentioned today, all the tips. Definitely use those templates and send it. Ma'am, language area is compulsory to mention in resume. If you just know Hindi and English, don't put it. If you know things like other languages, French and other languages, that too, if and in the job description you would have read, right? Some job description says fluent in Chinese or fluent in French, then definitely put in your resume that, okay, I know this language. Otherwise, how do they care? They don't really care. And if you just know Hindi and English, definitely do not put a language section. If you know many languages, then you could. Maybe you know French, German, then you could. Otherwise, definitely no. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? So yeah, like I was saying, make sure you're incorporating all those changes. Visit those websites. Just put on Google top websites to build your resume. You'll get few websites. They'll have free templates. Use that and just create your resume, the basic one. Send it to us. We will review it, let you know. And then once you want to apply for a job, read their JD and tailor it accordingly. That is very, very important because like I said, companies are using this software and it might get rejected. All right, guys, any other questions? Feel free to put it in the chat box. I will just wait for a few more minutes. If there are no questions, then I will end the webinar. Otherwise, please put it in the chat box. If you have any doubts, any questions that you want to ask now, feel free to put it in the chat box. And like I said, do follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. All the information regarding to future webinars are posted there. Many informative videos are there. Like I said, definitely on the YouTube channel, the webinar that we did on interview skills, the snippets are there. Go watch that as well, because that is also something that is going to be important. Okay, then just says any software skills such as Tally, Prime, etc. should add on. See, it depends. I mean, you have to read the JD, like I said. If you're applying to a very small scale company and they probably need you to know Tally, then yeah, put it in your resume. Otherwise, generally speaking, if you have like any software skills, I would say yeah, you could put in which of course you think is also helpful in that role in accounting. Yeah, if you're applying for an accounting role and you have few software skills, you could include it. But honestly, Tally, Prime these days, at least big companies, MNCs, Big Fours, I have never used it. I honestly don't know myself. If you're applying for a small company, probably they use it, so they might appreciate it, so you could put. Otherwise, big companies definitely maybe will not appreciate it, so you could skip it. But if you have many software skills, you could put in a section or a line of it. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Feel free to put it in the chat box. Anything else, guys? If there are no questions, then I will end it in a minute. So please put it in the chat box if you have any questions. I hope this webinar was helpful, and we are going to be, in the future, we have many webinars on other topics. So definitely follow us on these platforms, social media platforms, to know when we are doing a webinar, and you can register then. And also, if you in case missed the previous webinar, which was on interview skills, do go on YouTube and search for FinTram Global, subscribe to our channel, and then of course, do that. In Big Four, what things they use in finance and accounting field? So it depends, right? Like I was in audit, so for audit we used to use software like e-audit and all of that. So I did work on that. In EY, they use some tools like Canvas and all of that. So it depends, right? If you don't know the knowledge of those, and it's not that you have to know, because that's their company software. Any which ways, when you get the job, they will teach you that. So if you know, or if the job description says of a particular software, and if you have that skill or knowledge of that, then definitely put it in your resume. If you don't have it, then from start thinking about it, that okay, how I can gain a certification in that course, so that you can put it then. But it depends, right? In Big Four also, there are so many things. There's tax, there's advisory, there's audit. So it's gonna take time. Like it's gonna depend vary from services and industries or departments, that what software basically they're using. All right, Diljit says, ma'am, resume ko kitne mahine baad edit karna chahiye? So again, Diljit, it would depend, right? If you're already working in an organization and you're not looking for a job, then it's fine, whatever you have. But I always say that, what happens is you work on something and then you forget. but that okay, I did this important thing. So it's always good that okay, you remember it and just put it in your resume if you did something exceptionally well in your workplace. Otherwise, other than that, if you're not working as such, then whatever resume you have, you will just tailor it as per the JDs that you're applying for. But if you're working and if you're not actively applying, then you can just, don't need to edit it. But whatever you do, a new piece of work on a new client, do something, so you can just go back and put on your resume so that you don't forget when you're making your resume. Tax team, what they need in Big Four, I'm not aware, Dhananjay. Like I said, every company will have different. So EY might use a software that KPMG doesn't use. So that company will teach you. When you get into that company, they will tell, okay, this is the software that you need to know. As a general software, I don't know. I have never worked in tax. I don't know if they use any software as such. If they are mentioned in their job description that, okay, you need to know Microsoft, for example, I'm saying Microsoft XYZ software, then of course you could, work towards it that, okay, how I can gain certification on that. But as such, every company has their own softwares. So you probably will not be able to learn from it or gain certification on it. That is something that they will only teach you once you get hired, and they don't expect you to know that. But other than that, if there is any general thing that they need to know, that will be there in the job description. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Any other questions, guys? Please put it in the chat box, otherwise we will just end the webinar in a minute. No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome, Diljit. All right. Any questions, guys? Please put it in the chat box. Otherwise, I will just end the webinar now. Anything else, guys? In Big Four, what type of knowledge they accept from us needed in accounting background? So, Dhananjay, are you a BCom graduate? Are you doing any professional qualifications? Because if you're doing any professional qualification, let's say like ACCA or US CPA, so this is something that they usually look for, right? More almost, I would say, every Big Four especially hires ACCA. Yes, if you have done ACCA or you're pursuing ACCA. So if you are pursuing, or even if you have done, then that's great. Even if you're pursuing, you're pursuing. So you could, start applying for the jobs, because, and you could just mention in your resume that you are pursuing ACCA, you're a student, you have, let's say, cleared 10 papers out of total whatever, or 8 papers out of for per. I don't understand this. For per PR. So you need you want a job for PR, like, I'm not understanding that part. But like I said, when you are practical experience required. So yeah, that's what in ACCA. Yeah, practical experience is required. So you could apply for jobs. Even Big Fours hire ACCA student. I myself was working in Big Fours when I was an ACCA student. I had not even completed my ACCA. So whatever you have studied, of course, that knowledge is important. Whether it's your IFRS, accounting standards, all of that is important. So that is something you could put in that, okay, I'm proficient in this accounting standard, or this IFRS I know really well. So all that is, of course, important if you are looking for tax, or you have specialized in tax. So whatever you studied there, whatever the important things, whatever you are good at, that is something that you could highlight. Then Shreya is asking, I'm pursuing ACCA from FinTram, just started, so we can get hired only after clearing all papers. No, Shreya, you could, once, I would say, you cleared your knowledge level at least, and you start off with your skill level, you can start applying to various companies. I myself, I first company, I got campus placement, then I started doing ACCA, and my second job also, I was pursuing ACCA. I had still not completed all my papers, but I got the job. Knowledge level is exempted for me. Yeah, so you would have started with a skill level. You can start applying for jobs, and many companies hire ACCA fresh graduate, in the sense the students who are not completed all the papers, and as a fresh graduate, like you would have graduated from a college. I'm in ACCA. Yeah. So like I said, you can definitely start applying. Definitely on LinkedIn, search for these jobs. Naukri.com. ACC has their own official website wherein you could, look at the job listings which they put that okay, these companies are looking for, especially ACCS. You can filter using the city also, and then you can definitely apply whenever there's an opening. And you, as a student, ACCA student, when you're at your skill level also, you can definitely apply. Are there any more questions? Anyone? Any questions? Please give some brief about ACCA membership. So yeah, once you clear all your exams, ACCA papers, you have to do one ethical module. That's online, very simple. Once you're done with that and you meet the PER requirement, which is your 3 years of work experience, you become a member. So once you cleared all your papers, you become an ACCA affiliate, and an affiliate would, will also get many job opportunities. As member is just basically okay, now you have cleared those 3 years also, but as an affiliate also, you can, start working, and then whenever you're working, those years are getting counted. And once you complete 3 years, whether in one organization or breaking in one organization, did 1 year, one you did 1 year, so everything will be counted. And once you complete those 3 years, you of course become a ACCA member. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Ma'am, can repeat website where ACCA PR requirement? Which website? Are you talking about the job website? You could just put in Google jobs for job portal ACCA, and you will get the website, and you can just open there and see. Are you asking that, Dhananjay? And if you have to put in your PR requirement, then of course you would have your My ACCA account. In that, you have to go in the PER and then select the company and all of that, your manager, dates, and all of that. But that will happen in your My ACCA account itself. There's no separate website for that. All right, guys, are there any other questions? Please put it in the chat box. Are there any other questions, guys? All right, since there are no more questions, I would like to thank you all for joining in. I hope this was helpful. And like I said, make sure whatever is discussed today, you keep that in mind, all those points when you're building your own resume. Take time, make a resume. Don't be like, okay, I'll just create something in 10 minutes. So make sure you put everything, whatever we discussed in that. And then just make a resume, basic one. And then of course, whenever you're applying for a job, you have to tailor it. How much history should you include in your resume? Are you talking about your job experiences, like various companies that you've worked in? I'm not sure, I don't get this question. Are you talking about the various jobs that you have done? Then wherever you've worked, like if you have worked, let's say in some company for 2 months or 3 months, then you could skip that. Otherwise, if it's 9 months or above, then of course you should be including that. And of course, whatever is relevant to where you're currently applying, and if that job was relevant to this job, then definitely include it. Otherwise, you could skip it. I hope that answers. Anything else, guys? If not, then I would end it now. And like I said, create your resume, use those website. Everything is available these days on the internet. Create a basic resume. You could mail at support@fintram.com. In the subject, just write resume webinar. We will give a review of your resume, how it is, what could be done better, what are the changes. And then once you have a resume ready, whenever you're applying for a job, tailor it as per that role. All right. Thank you so much for joining in. And like I said, follow FinTram Global on these various platforms so that you are updated. And definitely visit our YouTube channel and see the last webinar on interview skills. I'm sure it's going to be helpful for all of you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.